Hello and welcome to Mansion Interviews, a podcast which gives me an excuse to talk to interesting people while at the same time improving your English. Today I'm speaking to a good friend of mine, Danny. I've known Danny for many years, and he also happens to be North American, which is good news for you because many listeners have been asking me about the differences between American English and British English. So, Danny and I jumped on Skype and we compared vocabulary differences between US and UK English. Actually, I tested him to see how much British English vocabulary he knows. So, what do you think? Did he pass the test? More importantly, do you know these vocabulary differences? Let's see. There are no comprehension questions to this podcast because this isn't an interview listening practice. It's a focus on vocabulary. But you will find a complete list of the vocabulary we talk about during this podcast at inglespodcast.com/Danny. Welcome to Mansion Interviews, and today we have Danny, my good friend Danny. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Good.
Welcome to Mansion Interviews. Now, Danny, you are originally from where? Where is your accent from?
Well, I'm from the United States. My accent is a Midwestern American accent.
Would you say it's from any particular city? Because I know you've moved around a bit.
A particular city would be Detroit, which is in Michigan.
Is that where you grew up?
Which is in the Midwest. That's where I was born and raised. Yeah, I have a pretty typical Michigan accent.
And where are you based now? Where are you speaking from at the moment?
I'm in a city near Detroit called Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Ann Arbor, Michigan. Okay, so we've got a pretty good idea of where you're from in the States. What I'd like to do, Dan, is to ask you to give us the American English equivalent of some British English words. So if it's okay, I'll say the British English word. Let's see if you know the meaning and the American word that you would use. So we'll start off with some very easy ones to get you going. Okay, you ready?
Sounds like a test, but okay.
Lift.
Elevator.
Right, in Spanish that's ascensor. Next one, flat.
In American English, that's an apartment.
Fantastic. Piso in Spanish. Now, another easy one, holiday.
That is a vacation.
Autumn, the time of year we are now.
We call that fall.
Fantastic. Next one, a queue, when you queue up for something. How would you say that?
We call a queue a line. So you say you stand in line, but sometimes Americans on the East Coast say online.
Online.
So
okay, you're online.
Say I'm waiting online. In Michigan, we would say I'm waiting in line.
And if you're in a restaurant and it's time to go and you want to pay and you ask for the bill, what's the bill in American English?
We might call it a bill, but we also would call it a check.
And if your check, you have to pay for your check, you're using money, cash money. What would 10 quid be in American English? What's a quid?
Quid equivalent would be a buck.
Right, so 50 quid, $50.
$50.
And if you're shopping in a shopping center, what's that in American English?
A shopping center? We call it a shopping center.
Do you? You say shopping center in the States?
Shopping center, yeah. Well, there's also
Okay.
a mall, shopping center.
That's what I was looking for. I thought mall was more common. You'd say either, would you? You'd say shopping center or shopping mall?
Well, a mall is bigger. A mall is like indoors.
Right.
Usually, and it's bigger. A shopping center could be small, 5 or 10 stores. a mall would have, 30, 40, 50, 100 stores.
Got it. I've got it. That's clear. Thanks. So you're in the shopping mall or the shopping center. Let's move on to clothes.
Yeah.
So trainers.
Oh, trainers, we call those, well, in America, there's different words, but in the Midwest, we call them gym shoes. In the East Coast or New York, they would call them sneakers.
What about tights? You're buying tights for your lady.
I don't know. Nylon? What are tights?
I've got you there. Tights are pantyhose.
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 Yeah.
Or you say pantyhose.
Okay.
Knickers?
Knickers, we call panties.
Yep. Vest for a man.
A vest for a man is a t-shirt, I believe, right?
Yep. An undershirt or a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And if you let's go into the bar now. So we're drinking.
Okay.
Barman or barmaid?
We call that a bartender.
Mm-hmm. Staying in the area of drink and alcohol, stag night. If you went out on a stag night with your friends, or a hen night, have you heard those before?
Yeah, I know what those are, and we'd call that a bachelor party. Is a stag night, and for women, we say we call it a bachelorette party.
A bachelorette party.
Yeah.
Okay. Just before you get married.
Yes.
Okay. I know you'll know this one, Danny. A pub crawl. Do you say pub crawl in the States?
Yeah, we do. I'm sure we got it from the Brits.
What about bar hop? That's American, right?
Yeah, we do bar hops, but they're different. We do both. A pub crawl in the States would be more something that's kind of organized. You're going with a group that's already organized. You go from one place to another. Where bar hopping is, you and your mate are just going to different places randomly.
Have you been on any of those recently?
Not recently.
Okay, so you're in the pub and you put your beer down on a beer mat.
Yeah. What do we call that? Well, we call that. Well, if you said beer mat, you would know what it was. Someone would know what it was. But I guess we call it a.
So you could ask a bartender for a beer mat, and he'd know what you're saying.
Yeah, probably. Maybe not. He might have to say, "Oh, you mean one of those round things that go on?"
Yeah. Under the glass.
That's what he probably would say. He goes, "Oh, you mean those round things?" And he'd say, "Yeah." But, oh, okay. And if you said, "What's it called?" He'd probably say, "I don't know. Beer mat." I guess we call those. Those are dollies, aren't they?
I'm asking you, man. Would you say coaster?
Coaster. Yeah.
Moving on to babies. Before you spill your coffee, not babes like American babes or chicks that we'd say birds, but babies like the small people. A nappy.
Nappies in America are called diapers.
And the thing they put in their mouths, the dummies, a dummy.
Yeah, we call a dummy a pacifier.
And you push the baby around in something with wheels called a pram.
You call it a pram. We call it a baby buggy.
A baby buggy.
Yeah.
A baby buggy. Okay. Coupled with food, crisps. Crisps
in America.
In the bar.
Those are a crisp in America are potato chips.
Okay. And takeaway food, if you fancy having like an Indian or a Chinese in your house and you ask for takeaway food, would you say takeaway?
No, we don't say takeaway. We'd say carry out.
Carry out. Okay. Carry out food.
Carry out food.
In the house now I know you know these because we shared a flat together or an apartment a few years ago.
Right.
Cooker.
Oh, cooker is, we call that a stove.
And a tap where the water comes out from?
You could call it a tap, but more likely you're going to call it a faucet.
Rubbish bin or dustbin?
We call that a garbage can.
Someone who sells you a property in the UK is called an estate agent.
We call that a real estate agent.
Would you say realtor? Realtor?
Yeah, you could say realtor.
Or real estate agent? Okay.
Yeah.
Postcode?
Zip code.
And torch.
A torch we call that a flashlight.
Fantastic. Okay, in the street, you're walking along the pavement. What's pavement?
Yeah, in the United States, that's called a sidewalk.
Sidewalk. Zebra crossing?
We call that just a pedestrian walking or crosswalk.
Pedestrian crosswalk. Okay.
Yeah.
Roundabout?
I think we call it a roundabout. They're kind of, we don't have many of them like in England. They're new, and I think we've just taken on the name. I think we call them roundabouts. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you have any roundabouts where you are in Ann Arbor?
Well, we didn't 10 years ago. We didn't have any, but like I said, becoming more and more popular all across the country. And now we probably have, 5 or 10 of them in Ann Arbor.
Car park.
Car park is a parking lot.
Petrol station?
That is a gas station.
Motorway.
Motorway is a freeway or a highway.
Is there a difference between a freeway and a highway?
Maybe technically, but I think we use them interchangeably.
Okay. Flyover.
A flyover is a bridge.
Okay.
I don't think we have a word for it. Overpass?
Okay.
Maybe an overpass.
An overpass, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. An overpass.
Yeah.
In Spanish, paso elevado. Okay, overpass. Someone who's playing music on the street. A busker. Do you say busker in the States?
Yeah. That would be the proper word.
Oh, okay.
But we might call them I don't know if there's a word. That's the word we'd use. Or
Okay,
a street performer.
Mm-hmm. Street performer. Okay. Lorry.
Lorry in America is a truck.
And cash point or cash point machine where you get your money from outside the bank.
Yeah, that's called an ATM.
ATM. Do you know what that does that stand for anything?
Yeah.
It's just like an ATM?
ATM would be automatic transfer machine, maybe.
Okay.
That's what it's for.
Moving on to work, if I asked you for your CV, what am I asking for?
Yeah, that's in America, we call that a resume.
And if I don't like the way you're working and I sack you, to sack someone is British English?
Yeah, in American English, we say you fired somebody.
And a public limited company or PLC. What's that in the States?
Technically, I think maybe an LLC, a limited liability company.
An LLC? Okay. Is there a difference between an LLC and an INC, an incorporated company, or are they more or less?
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't say INC.
Okay.
We might abbreviate and say Inc., but there is a difference. There's many different kinds of corporations. There's LLCs, S corps. There's different distinctions.
Right. Okay, so you're probably feeling pretty confident at this point. Now they're going to get a bit harder. You ready?
Yeah.
Anorak.
That is, I know that one.
Go on then.
Is that a raincoat?
Yeah, pretty much. You might say windbreaker, I think. A windbreaker.
We have windbreakers, but isn't Anorak specifically waterproof?
They are. They're usually waterproof, yeah.
So,
and usually with a hood.
Yeah, we would just call that a raincoat. A windbreaker would not be for rain.
Okay. So this one could have maybe two interpretations. Rubber.
Rubber is a condom.
That's one interpretation.
A rubber,
If you're writing with pencil.
yeah, you call that a rubber, and in British English, we call that an eraser.
An eraser. Okay. I thought you were going to say condom first. I had money on that. Here's another one that might trick you. Wellies.
Wellies. No, I know what wellies are.
You know wellies? Wellingtons?
I know what Wellingtons are. And more and more people will, if you could use that word here in America, you call them wellies, people would smile. But we just call those, we don't really have a name. We just call them rubber boots, rain boots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not to confuse wellies with wallies. Do you know what a wally is? WALLY.
I certainly do know what a wally is. I've been called one many times, but
Probably by me.
the equivalent in American English, oh, there's many. There's many equivalent, I guess.
Would you say nerd?
I think a nerd. I think it's different because if you call someone a nerd in America, it's not necessarily insulting. People are kind of proud to be a nerd. It means they're geeky.
Yeah.
So I think Wally is kind of insulting. No one's going to call himself a Wally, right?
Right. Yeah. If you were a Wally, you're a bit of an idiot, an idiot.
A jerk. Yeah.
A jerk. Yeah. A jerk.
Yeah.
Okay. Off license. Have you heard of off license?
Yeah.
Have you bought anything from an off license?
Yeah. I bought things in the UK from off license, but we don't have those. We don't have off license. We just have liquor stores.
Okay, a liquor store. So where you buy alcohol would be an off license or a liquor store.
A liquor store, yeah. There's different colloquial names, and where I come from, we call them, in Detroit, we call it a party store.
Okay.
And each region has different names, but mostly liquor store works.
And here's an expression I taught you, I think. Fish slice. You remember the fish slice?
I have a British friend here, and I was in his kitchen, and we came, and he didn't know that word.
Where was he from?
He's from London. And I said, are you kidding me? How can you not know that word? And we looked it up online, and sure enough, I said, this is what you call this. This is in America, we call that a spatula.
Yeah.
Of course, there's two different kinds of spatulas. But, yeah, my friend Steven, he's like, it was amazed. He was like, yeah, this is definitely a word. We looked it up. He said, oh, it must be a class thing. He fancies himself,
A class, like I'm classy. Come on.
Yeah, no, I swear to God. I said, you're just an idiot.
Next time you see Steven, tell him he's a Wally.
Oh, I do all the time.
Okay, only 3 or 4 left, Dan. So the next word we have is Brawley.
I don't know what a Brawley is.
Brawley is an umbrella. It's a slang. Oh, sorry, these are all slang. These are like slang words. Like Wally is a nerd, and Brawley is an umbrella.
Yeah.
And you probably know this one, Loo, L-O-O, or Bog, B-O-G.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we call that a John.
So John's the slang word for toilet.
For a restroom. We don't say toilet. We call a toilet a restroom. The toilet is the actual thing you sit on.
Okay. Do you say lavatory?
Yeah, if you're being proper.
So that's high class, is it, lavatory?
Yeah, well...
That's something Stephen would say.
Stephen, yeah, lavatory is high class. Restroom is somewhere in between. And then John is very familiar.
Right. Got it. Knackered. If you say you're knackered, how do you feel?
In America, if you would say I'm tired.
Would you say whipped?
You could say whipped, but we don't use that too much. There's lots of things you could say. Exhausted, whipped. Yeah. I like whipped. That's a good one. I'll use it more.
Finally, mate. The word mate, because you don't say mate.
We don't say mate. We would call a mate in America. We'd say you're my friend
or buddy.
That's right, buddy. Pal.
Pal. Okay, pal.
You can say pal,
So,
buddy, chum.
but if I said to an American person who hadn't been outside of the US, if I said thanks, mate, would they understand that I mean thanks, buddy?
Well, more and more because of media, but if they weren't exposed, they probably said it with a British accent. They'd say, "Oh, that's quaint." But usually, you say "mate" is for somebody that you have sex with, somebody who you mate with.
Okay.
So that would sound strange to just calling somebody your mate.
Got it. So, Dan, to finish, do you know any words in Spanish that you'd like to say to our listeners in Spanish?
Do I know any? Yeah, I didn't do too well in Spanish at university. So, buenos días.
Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias.
Perfect. Fantastic. Okay. Before you go, can you say this for me? Aprender inglés gratis.
No, aprender inglés gratis.
Con Inglés Podcast.
Inglés podcast.
Y mansioninglés.com.
Y mention inglés. What?
.com.
.com.
Fantastic. That's it. That's a wrap, mate. Good job. Many thanks to my good friend, my old mate, my long-time pal, buddy, and all-round good guy, Danny from Detroit, Michigan. Thanks, man. And thank you for listening. If you have any comments or questions, or if you just want to say hi, you can send an email to Craig, Craig, at inglespodcast.com. Or send me a voice message at SpeakPipe, that's speakpipe.com/inglespodcast. There's a detailed list of American and British English vocabulary with Spanish translations at mencioningles.com. And I'll put a link to this on the website at inglespodcast.com/Danny.